to close this loop, whenever I hear a conservative say words to the effect of, by releasing this torture report, we are putting American lives at risk, my answer is no. By torturing people, we put American lives at risk. By releasing the torture report, we're actually reducing the risk to American lives because we're asserting to the world that we don't do that anymore, that was an aberration. Here, Andrea Tantaros went off on a screed about this on Fox News yesterday, I believe it was. And here's a couple clips I'd like to essentially respond to. Here's the first one.
The United States of America is awesome. We are awesome. But we've had this discussion. We've closed the book on it and we've stopped doing it. And the reason they want to have this discussion is not to show how awesome we are. This administration wants to have this discussion to show us how we're not awesome.
Right. So the question, I think that we're incredibly awesome. I'm an unabashed American patriot, I would say. I believe in my country. I believe in the founding ideals of my country. I'm proud of my country in many ways. There are many things about this country that I'm embarrassed about, many things that I think we could do so much better. Our gun violence, for example, is, not an example for the world. Our incarceration rates, not an example for the world. Our childhood poverty, not an example for the world. But on the other hand, the founding principles of this country continue to animate our conversations. In fact, they animate this conversation. And I'm curious, what do you think America is awesome? It's easy for us to sit around and complain. But what are the things that actually make America awesome? Because, I agree with the first half of what Andrea said. We're an awesome country, but, it doesn't mean that we're number one at anything in particular other than incarceration. But, it's a hell of a lot better place to live than a lot of places where I have lived and worked around the world. But the second one where she says, we closed the book on this. We don't need to have this conversation. No, we do need to have this conversation. And she's right. What she was trying to say was Democrats are releasing this report because the Republicans are going to take control of the Senate, and they will never let it come out because it looks bad for Bush. And the Democrats don't care if it looks bad for Bush. In fact, that's kind of a bonus. Well, true. But is that the Democrats' fault? No, that's Bush's fault. Okay, here's the second clip from Andrea.
This administration is doing this because they're the same administration that goes on these apology tours, because they believe naively that if we can just shame ourselves and convince the world how horrible we are and put us on a moral equivalency with all these other countries, then maybe they will stop beheading Americans and putting our heads on sticks.
Now, that is one of the most stupid things I've ever heard. I don't know how to say it beyond that. Just the fundamental logic. First of all, apology tours. There is no such thing. This is an entirely Fox News, created meme. So just set that. This is the tragedy of siloed information. But beyond that, the idea that by apologizing for committing crimes, we are reducing ourselves to the level of a country that tortures or a group like ISIS that cuts people's heads off is, as I said, stupid. I mean, it's the exact opposite of reality. The person who stands up and says, yes, I did that and I'm sorry. Yes, I did that and I want to atone for it. Yes, I did that and I wanted to fix this. That person earns our respect. Even Republicans. I mean, David Vitter gets busted for sleeping with hookers here in Washington, D.C. And he stands up in front of the world with his wife by his side and says, yes, I did it, and I'm very sorry. He gets a standing ovation from his Republican colleagues when he comes back into the Senate, and he gets reelected by the citizens of Louisiana. We love people who acknowledge their errors and say anyway that they're going to change their ways. And the world does too. This is a human nature characteristic. So to say that acknowledging our mistakes so that we can become a better nation somehow makes us a worse nation, that's unpatriotic. It's not just stupid, it's unpatriotic. It is fundamentally un-American. It is not how any patriot would behave, in my humble opinion. How any president historically, by and large, with the possible exception of Richard Nixon or Ronald Reagan, has behaved. Although Reagan had an oops moment, right? When the barracks was blown up in Lebanon and over 200 Marines died, Reagan didn't say, I'm going to have a war on those terrorists. No, he just pulled everybody out of Lebanon. Case closed. Oops. Shouldn't have had him there. So learning from your mistakes is one of the things that makes America awesome. We started out with this mistake of Indian genocide and slavery. We learned from that mistake, and we've kind of cleaned up both. I mean, we're still working on both. We started out with the mistake of women being disenfranchised. We're cleaning that up. We have at various times in our history made the mistake of just turning the capitalists and the billionaires totally loose on America. The Gilded Age of the late 19th century, the 1920s, and the Reagan era to today. Hopefully, we'll clean that up again. We've cleaned it up twice before.
You're listening to the Thom Hartmann Program. Call 202-536-2370.
And I continue to think that one of the best ways to establish that the Bush administration committed crimes is to identify them and then pardon.